Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin still lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. We are back here on the PlayStation platform for what should hopefully be another fantastic season here in PSGL F2. I am back again. My name is Evan Dalton, but a man who was a bit of a stand-in last season for us during a couple of races. He's now here in the main slot, joining alongside me for hopefully now and the rest of the season. It is Mr. TDB. We have proper graphics and all from this season. It is Timon. Timon, how are you doing?
I am doing very well. A bit surprised to be here, I will not lie. When I got the DM, it was saying like, you're doing F2 this season. I was like, you're joking or you're being serious? But somehow I deserve the spot here in F2 and we're gonna make the most of it. Should be a fun, entertaining season on like the second highest flight on PSGL PlayStation wise. It's the tier where all drivers are made. You need to prove yourself here to get into Formula in the F1 tier and prove yourself there. That is a whole new level. But the step up, the big step up, is here, and we're going to see many, many talents across this season. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be an absolutely fantastic season. Hopefully, we've got a star-studded lineup of drivers here this season. We've got some of the cream of the crop from last season still staying with us because of, I suppose you could say, many drivers who were in F1 staying in F1. We're not transitioning from game to game, so the pace is sort of, it's not going to change too much over the course of a season to season basis. So we still have a lot of drivers who were here from last season, but we've got some excellent drivers Coming up the ranks, we've got the F3 champion, we've got the F4 champion. I don't actually think we have anyone for F5, but we've got the F3 champion and F4 champion, both the same team, both in Haas Formula 1. But in terms of the track for this evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, the Suzuka International Circuit in Japan, which, of course, is a 5.807 kilometer circuit. I have it wrong on my notes, but it's correct on your screen. A 3.617 mile circuit and 18 corners, in a lap record belonging to Lewis Hamilton. Timon, you were trying to remember some of the corner names in Japanese. Any success with it?
No, not at all. A lot of corner names were somewhat realistic. Like you have the Dunlop and the Decnacurs. They're pretty much the same, but like a few different ones. You won't hear me pronounce anything in Japanese today. Will be fun though. There should be one race where I should just be able to pronounce every corner in the respective language. I'm now checking if the Dutch GP is on this calendar because it would make it really easy for me. But seemingly it's not, so it will be a bit more of a challenge. But as you're seeing the track map, the drivers are loading in for qualifying. And Japan, normally, it used to be the track where the season ended, or championship at the side. This year, or this season in PSGL, is where we started off.
Yeah, the Dutch GP, most of the corners have bocht after them, which I think means corner in Dutch. I know there's Arie Lundijk bocht, Hugenholtz bocht, there's a load of them, but the Dutch GP is not going to be a big factor in this season or in this evening's action. Let's get straight into things then, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? There's no point hanging about because PSGL is back and it is time to head to our first qualifying session of the season. Last season we had a very interesting qualifying in Japan, and Timon actually joined me last season in Japan, if my memory serves me correctly. So we have, I was going to say two expert opinions, but it's my opinion, really an expert opinion at this point. We certainly have Timon's expert opinion for this Suzuka circuit, and a lot of drivers going out early. Qualifying for Suzuka, Timon, is it an important one, such to the levels of, say, Monaco or Hungary, or can you come through the field here if you maybe get a poor start?
It definitely isn't easy. You don't have many long straights because you only really got two straights that are longer. And one of them you got 130R afterwards, which we saw people try to overtake in Super Formally and didn't go necessarily very well. If you haven't seen the incident, it were two cars that went off very harshly in 130R. So I would not really recommend overtaking there, but you will have people doing it. But you only really have the main straight where you can overtake with DRS and ERS enabled. So overtaking, it's going to be a bit difficult. Qualifying is always important. If you start at the front, you're going to avoid incidents and you're just going to get that point scoring. Because although everyone wants to win it over a season, you need to be consistent. And I think that's a thing that is a big difference compared to last season, because we've remained on the same game here. On the last season, you had people who picked up this game really quickly, really learned the driving style a lot quicker than others, and got some big points early on in the season. This season, everyone is playing on an even surface. Everyone has known the track and the game as long as everyone else. And I think this season, it will be so much closer than the last one. More entertaining, more close battles. And I think it will just be an incredible season to remember.
Yeah, of course, it's only been 2 months since we were last here in Japan, of course. It was a stunning race. Airpec lost out to, I can't remember if it was Dirk or Dark. I should have done my research. I did do my research, but I still get them both completely wrong. It was, oh no, it was actually, was it Dirk or was it Dark? It was Dirk. I'm going to get those confused all season. We'll get this out of the way now. But I think
it was Dirk.
Yeah, well, it was Dirk. I went and checked because I knew I was wrong. I believe we also had an infamous hot lap here last season as well in Japan. But Paul went to Airpec on that day. Airpec obviously was our champion last season, so he's been promoted. He's gone up to the F1 tier. So we've got we will have a new pole sitter on the F123 game here in F2 around Japan. We're currently looking at Skyline. It was McLaren who won here last year, of course, in the form of Dirk, as we figured out. Of course, Dirk, oh god, this just doesn't get easier. Dirk has left the McLaren team, but Dark has joined the McLaren team. Dirk no longer in that McLaren team. He's driving for Aston Martin. I believe we have all but one driver here this evening. I'm trying to spot out if we've any reserves. I don't actually think... No, we don't actually have any. So we have a full grid here this evening, which is a great start to the season. It's not going to last like that, I can't imagine, but it's still a great start to proceedings. Skyline heading down towards 130 or where if you haven't seen that Super Formula accident, it was unbelievably scary, but hopefully we've nothing like that here this evening, although the risk with sim racing, it's less of a risk than real life because everything will be okay come the end of the evening, unless someone's wheel goes on fire, which has happened before around Suzuka in the past. Here comes Skyline across the start finish line, 1:26.4, that's the benchmark for everyone to beat. There is Nils in the background starting his lap. We have Will Murdoch going to second. Will Murdoch, main driver once again for this season. He's joining the Scuderia Ferrari team. He's going to give the F1 game side of things a go after his recent success on Gran Turismo 7. There's Dark to the top. It's all McLaren front row. There's another Ferrari in the background, but that was an invalidated lap. Max von der Geest heading through Spoon Curve, of course, had a good finish last season. To the season did Max von der Geest. He finished 5th, of course, in the championship last season, but definitely keep an eye on him. There goes Danielle to the top. Our PSGL F3 champion for last season, but he's beaten by OP Covers, who was another man who had a strong end to the season last time out. But here comes Max to the start-finish line. Where can the Red Bull go? It's only going to be 7th, and that's a very strong lap from Covers to start the day, 26 flat.
Yeah, 26.0 is a very, very respectable time, because they were predicting the full time in the Discord earlier on. To be fair, Covers' time's pretty much a 0.1. I mean, 0.0. It is a 0.0, but if you round
it's a 0.1.
But they were predicting like a 0.8, a 0.9, and if you can do a 0.0 banker, it's really showing your potential off to be a really, really good qualifying for him. Meanwhile, most other drivers are finishing their first couple of runs as well. A few invalidations. Macho, for example, invalidating. Still got Niels on his lap time. He goes into 13th with a 26.775. And it seems like most of the runs have come to an end for the first round. And you only got Ian, Macho, Zorzo, Fede, and Matteo who have set an invalid lap time, which means that they will have one shot less at getting that pole position. With Dick and Dark, we were able to recognize them from each other because they drove for different teams. Now they both drive for TF10, so there's literally only one letter in their name that's different. So it's going to be brilliant. He used to be ET8, the graphics said ET9, and now he's in TF10, but it's numbers-wise. But you just have to look at things and see how it goes. But with Dick and Dark, I think we're going to screw up over those two many, many times.
Fede goes to 9th, then for Shizou Racing Team. To be fair, Team TF10, I know this isn't necessarily... Our esports teams mean nothing in this championship, of course, with the PSGL E-Series making its debut tomorrow. That's where the esports teams have a big card to play. But Team TF10 making a little bit of a resurgence. I certainly didn't see them much in recent times here in the F2 Championship, but they're making a bit of a resurgence. There is 3 TF10 drivers here this evening. Is it 3 or is it 4? No, it's 3. 4, actually, apologies. No, it is 4. I should trust myself. Ian Van Unen in AlphaTauri. He is a Team TF10 driver as well, but he just doesn't have it in his PSN, which is one thing that I like. I like to see full names because it makes a commentator's job so much easier. Zorzo heading, or is he starting lap? No, Zorzo heading into the pit lane for Mercedes. Mercedes, of course, narrowly missed out on the Constructors' Championship last season. They were second in the Constructors' standings. It was Williams who took the Constructors' Championship. Of course, Irpek and Gabriel started off the season very well, and then it was Irpek and Noel that finished the season. So certainly, Tales and Diogo Silva have big shoes to fill here in terms of the Constructors' standings, but it's no secret that the Drivers' standings is what everybody aims for.
Oh yeah, for sure. And with the teams-wise, I do believe E-Series on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, so you might got your days a bit mixed up.
Rival League has their esports series on a Tuesday. My apologies.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I wouldn't have known either unless I prepared the line that we were opening this week for PSGL and that we had E-Series on Wednesday and PC on Thursday, so that every week you tune into PSF2 for the first time this week, because afterwards you got the F1 tier, which you're most likely gonna watch. So we will always be the start of a racing week. So if you screw up here, you're likely to have a bad week. Don't know if it's going to be good or bad luck here. But I do actually have a few fun facts about Suzuka, because that's something I might want to add every single week, just see how stupid of fun facts I could come up with. Um, did you know that Suzuka is actually a figure eight layout because it crosses over each other?
Oh,
Meanwhile,
one
Zayn
second,
actually
Timon.
also
We have
gets
a 5-place grid penalty for Shizu Zane for illegal blocking. He was blocking a Haas car there. Is that kart racer? Apologies. No, it was Danielle. So we may have to have a lobby restart because of that. That's a new protocol there. So we may have a slight break in between qualifying and the race if we do get a lobby restart. But sorry, Timon, take it away again.
Well, given this fact, I will hold out on my fun facts and give 2 more fun facts later on, because we need to have a lobby restart. And let's just go on board with Skyline, who nearly gets blocked by the Williams there. I do believe that was Talis, who was on his way there. 2.5 tenths improvements from Skyline already in Sector 1, which was a bit iffy from himself on the first lap, which you saw on board with him. Now coming up towards the hairpin, you have like 3 different lines going through the hairpin. I don't personally know which one's the quickest, but I hope the drivers certainly do. But I do know if you miss the apex here, it's not the end of the world. Skyline now coming up towards the spoon corners. First one, and you want to hit this apex nicely. You don't want to ride it and go wide, because that's a very easy thing to do. Absolutely push it towards the exit. And now we're coming up towards the second sector split on the middle of the backstretch, coming up towards 130R. Let's see if he's improving. 3.5 tenths improvement. That's a very good lap time from Skyline. Let's see where he can end this up. 2 cars ahead of him, going out of the way nicely. Skyline through the final 2 corners in the Casio triangle, coming up towards the last curve, keeping it tight on the line. Let's see what Skyline can do up towards second, 26.114.
That's a very, very good lap from Skyline. Very good attempt there. We see Dirk starting his lap in the background. Danielle flying it through the Degner curves, the sector curves, the Degner curves. Apologies. He's 1/10 improvement. That is Dark gone to second. So Dark beats his teammate Skyline once again. He seems to have the early upper hand in the McLaren inter-team battle. Johan finding time in that first sector. Ian Van Unen goes quickest, 126 flat. He just about beats Cover's lap. He's near that point 1 as well, though, so do keep an eye on that, as there's a car actually in the wall. That is Niels, who has gone round for Alpine. He is in the wall on the exit of turn number 2. Will Murdoch abandons and he heads into the pit lane. Newt starting his time as well. I believe one of the Williamses is coming through the final couple of corners. It is Diogo Silva who's also starting a lap. Hopefully we can catch someone who's actually finishing their run. Yes, Zane heading through 130 or was narrowly up in that middle sector. Needs to find a bit more time, considering he is currently 17th on this opening day grid. Here comes Zane to the start-finish line. He's going to improve to 15th. It's subtle improvements, but it is an improvement nonetheless. One of the Aston Martins heading to the start-finish line. It is Mateo who goes up to 6th spot, and it's currently McLaren 3-4, Aston Martin 5-6. Dirk is getting a bit of a slipstream here down the backstretch. Oh no, he's not actually pushing, so he is getting a slipstream, but it's not really going to mean much there. Keep an eye on some of the back markers as well, because they've not got proper times in. Diogo Silva found a bit of time in that first sector. Nothing overly substantial there. Tales could not find any more time in that middle sector either. There is an improvement there for Zorzo, who goes up to 8, so good lap there from Zorzo. Macho not currently pushing. The German of Youth still is. He's feeling a little bit rejuvenated coming into this season. Last season certainly wasn't described as lucky for Newt. He has a lot to prove here in this championship, and he's going to try do it by starting out well here in Suzuka. OP Covers goes quickest, but he only found 2 thousandths of a second, so not that much of an improvement. Consistency nonetheless, and Newt jumps up to 7th. Timon, we have 9 cars within a 10th of a second here at the Japanese Grand Prix qualifying.
Pretty much exactly what you expect from the second highest level in PSGL, and we know that many more drivers can put themselves up there. For example, Suzu Noel, he fully went off in the Casio triangle, going into aggressively losing the rear, trying to keep it again, and going fully off into the gravel trap. And besides that, you have plenty of other drivers who made tiny mistakes, but for the drivers that didn't, 9 drivers within a 10th of each other. It's going to be incredible, and those final runs, it's going to be make or break for most drivers, and even the sizes of improvements could give them 3 to 4 positions at least. And you said that esports teams don't really matter, but to me it's always interesting to see, because you always get these team changes, and you've got certain teams that need to keep up their name. For example, in Allah, they've got a few big drivers. making their way into F1. They had Airbag, they have Keke losing as well. And this season, they need to represent it again with Knuth. They got Diogo Silva, they got Ruti Gullit. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how those teams work, because of course you're not allowed to work with each other as esports teams wise, but you always see certain teams grow more and more. So it's interesting to see what will happen on that front. But I think that the NLR drivers in Ruti Gullit and Knuth are the drivers to really watch out for this season. But you can pretty much at this point, Evan, I think, name every single driver, and people would agree that he will have a shot at winning this title. Besides Will Murdoch.
Fair play to Ruti winning the title as a reserve. That's impressive. But, James,
you can have drivers leaving after one race. I'm not saying it happens.
Ruti actually,
it's how league racing works.
Ruti actually dropped from a main driver. He had a main seat over Ian Van Unen and he actually dropped to a reserve. But look, I still believe he's going to be doing most of the races that he can. James saying that the covers are definitely off this season here in PSGL F2. Dare I say that the skyline is the limit? Haha. That's going to be the last of that sort of shenanigans for this evening, because Shizou Noel comes out on circuit. It is a lonely Suzuka circuit at the moment for Shizou Noel, so the AlphaTauri has... he's a clear track in front of him, but the only problem here is he could have a lot of cars coming out of the pit lane. 3 minutes to go in qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix. 800ths of a second, I should say, separate the top 9 from Covers and Zorzo, as... both in the Mercedes team, who came second in the Constructors. As I've already said, they'll be looking to improve on that and try win the Constructors' Championship this season. Covers was actually a little bit disappointed that he wasn't given an F1 seat, but he did have an impressive F2 tenure, and he's going to look to have another impressive F2 tenure here as well. Just while these guys are sauntering out on their outlaps, and a bit of a rule change that I've heard about for this season. I find this very interesting. Parc Fermé is no longer a thing here in PSGL. So if we have dry qualifying and a wet race, we will have the best of both worlds, as you can change your setup in between the sessions. That's very intriguing to me.
And I personally love that rule, because you can get such aggressive qualifying setups. You can rarely have yourself going all or nothing, because normally you tend to have drivers who went a little bit conservative on their qualifying setup to really compromise for it in a race, that they would have more stability. And in qualifying, drivers are now able to go fully all out, absolutely risk and send it with that setup, because they can make it as aggressive as they want. And I think we've seen drivers make it more aggressive. For example, Noel making that mistake on his previous lap, going off in the corner that he is upcoming right now. And we will also be going on board with Noel for his first couple, or for his final lap actually. It will be the first lap set in the third round of lap times in the first qualifying session of the season. So a lot of numbers there. But let's just see how Noel does in Sector 1. This is the sector where you can make or break your lap, because you want to push as much as possible through these long curves, but you don't want to lose too much time or make a tiny mistake. Even if you hit the brass here, you can lose a tremendous amount of times, and you do not want that to happen. But it looks fairly clean from Noel there. Let's see what the first sector split will be. He is only 2/10 off the lap that he needs to set, and he's already got half a tenth of an improvement. Dirk Newell DNFing, so it seems like something interesting has happened back there, but for now we cannot really focus on that. Actually, he seems to have retired on track after an invalidation, so that's not really nice from Dirk to do. But it's fully bunched up there in Sector 3 on the track. I find this absolutely hilarious. You got like 10 cars in the Casio Triangle. But Noel's just fully pushing on in his lap still, coming towards Spoon. Let's see if he doesn't screw it up here. But it seems just a very clean lap from Noel, slightly missing the apex there. But I think, again, it should be an improvement compared to his last lap. And we will be hopefully for him, seeing him make a jump, at least in the 0.1s. Let's see what he can do. 2/10 of an improvement. There we go. So he's already towards a low 0.1 looking. And if he can make an even bigger improvement in the third sector, he can be looking for pole. This time it's looking a bit scrappy as well. Same like last time round. Noel, let's see what kind of lap time he can put on there. And he fully screws it up there. 1/10 slower with that big side in the third sector. Noel does not improve.
Here comes Danielle heading into the Casio triangle. Can he produce these corners a little bit better than Noel was? He was a high flyer in F3 last season, took the championship. Can he try to take pole here on debut in F2? He goes quickest, 25.9, first man to reach that sort of threshold. Let's see, can somebody dethrone him? We've got a lot of cars here in qualifying. We'll try keep up with them as much as we can. There's Fede across the line in 14th. There's going to be the other Haas of Kartzer across the line there as Macho goes quickest for Scuderia Ferrari. Max van der Geest exiting the Casio triangle. Ian Van Unen goes quickest. The times are swapping and changing so quickly here. Max van der Geest goes to 7th. Dark heading down towards 130. Or there's a Williams in front of him flying as well. That's going to be Diogo Silva, I believe, so we can keep wits on both of them. But Dark found enough time for pole in that middle sector, but the benchmark has been increased as there's a bit of a slide heading into the Casio triangle. He's got to manage that perfectly. Zorzo goes to 4th. Here comes Dark across the start finish line for McLaren. It's quickest for Dark here in Suzuka. Excellent lap there. There's still plenty of drivers coming across the line. A Skyline comes across as well, but I believe it is going to be Dark who takes pole for the Japanese Grand Prix. He was quicker than Skyline all throughout the session, and he has taken it right at the death. As yes, there is confirmation. It is TF10 Dark who will start the Japanese Grand Prix on pole position. What a session that was. The gap was a lot larger than we expected, but it goes to show that how much knowledge can be crucial. They predicted a 25.8 for pole, and it is a 25.8 that takes pole, but it is Dark and Ian Van Unen on the front row for the season opener here in Suzuka. Macho in the third, and it's Danielle, Skyline, Zorzo, Newt, Covers, Max, Dirk, Matteo, Noel, Tales, Fede, Zane, Johan, Diogo Silva, Kartzer, Nils, and then Will Murdoch. Folks, we'll be back after a short commercial break for the Japanese Grand Prix here at Suzuka. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to PSGL F2. That is a very distorted image of me on the screen. That's a bit better now. I'm back. It was a very distorted image. Oh, you can't see Simon either. All right. There he is. There is Timon. We have a restart after qualifying due to two 5-place grid penalties. So, yeah, unfortunately, we have to wait a couple minutes, just like last season. It's all happening again. Let's see some of your chat reaction during qualifying, shall we? Let's have a read of some of the comments. James Head saying, great lap by Dark. Yeah, agreed. Really, really, really good lap. There was an OP Covers his goat. Goat, Covers, goat. No. So, a bit of a roller coaster for Covers fans. We want Ruthie, says a TF10 member. Mal saying, feeling a Covers masterclass. Covers should leave. Should be an F1, says Jeff Barron. A lot of cover support here, Timon. Timon having a blank screen. Please sack James, Connor and Jess. Please, I can't cope with it anymore. But, it was great qualifying. Great qualifying in... oh, hold on. Where's Timon gone? There he is. Great qualifying in Suzuka. Timon, what can we expect for the race? And I believe if we're going off the same conditions that it was supposed to be, it will be dry.
Yeah, it should be dry. I don't know why my camera keeps cutting off. Interesting stuff to find out over this season. Discord being a bit new for me, and I'm the biggest Discord noob, so beware with that. The race, it should be interesting with the setups, of course, being changed and all the fresh tyres now being added. Strategies, I think most drivers will be looking to do the same. So racing-wise, I can't say I don't think it will be an entertaining race because there were so many drivers so closely within each other. But overtaking-wise, it will be a struggle, and I think we'll be seeing a lot of drivers be wanting to make overtakes quickly because everyone's got that mindset that they could be the champion this season. It's a new season. Everything can happen, and you need to profit, and you need to be there from the start. So everyone's going to be sending it and going to try to do their absolute best. And especially at Suzuka, it allows great racing. You need to really race to make overtakes. So it should be a nice one. I'm looking forward to it. The fact that it's dry is going to be making it a little bit more boring. Would be, of course, fun to have changing conditions, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be an excellent one. Just going by the quality results, sorry folks, I'm just reading them off my phone. It is Dark on pole, Ian Van Noonen in second, then it's Macho Danielle Skyline. Danielle making an impact very early on here. The F3 champion certainly had pace. Coming into the tier, we knew that. We knew Danielle was a very good driver. But the Italian, putting a good showing in qualifying. Could we have maybe a bit of a surprise here, Timon, and have someone who didn't actually race in F2 last season win this evening? Just going off by my statistics, some of those drivers could be Zorzo, we could be Matteo, we could of course be Nindel, and then we could be Karzer. Karzer, of course, was the champion last year in F4, but in terms of placements, they've not been very nice to him. He probably should have been higher than F4 last season because he was quite dominant in that tier. But could we maybe get someone who didn't even race last season win this race?
It's racing, Evan. You know it's certainly possible. I'm trying to get in the session, but it's seemingly not allowing me to. So if you could shoot me an invite, it's nice.
Yeah,
but
can do.
I think, it's the most boring answer to say everything's possible. But in this case, it really could be. But I am expecting drivers to make up some places. For example, Covers. He was 1.5 tenths improving on his own PB, which was a 0.0, 1.5 tenths up after sector 1, and he made a few mistakes over his lap, which cost him a lot. So I think Covers is someone who has really good base, and I think he's someone that will make it up. I'm unable to spectate. There we go. You need to spectate as well, Evan. They're shouting at me for not going in spectator, so...
Oh, I was actually spectator, and then I unpressed it to go spectator. Okay, nice one. That's about how good a commentator I am. But let's run through some fun facts. Timon was saying some fun facts about the circuit in qualifying. Here's an even random fun fact for you. Suzuka hosts weddings. You can get married in Suzuka. So if you and a loved one, a Formula 1 loved one, want to get married in Suzuka, you want to commit yourselves to each other for the rest of time, you can do it maybe in the Degner Curves, maybe 130R. I don't really know where they host them, but I'm sure it's on the track somewhere. Otherwise, it's a bit of a scam, isn't it? You can get married in a room at Suzuka. Michael Schumacher, most successful driver here over history, 6 wins. Hamilton with 5. McLaren, the most successful team, with 9. There's a McLaren starting on pole today. That could be a good omen. The Degner Curve, turn number 8 here, was named after the 1962 125cc world champion Ernst Degner. The German won his title for Suzuki. If you don't know, Suzuka is owned by Honda. That gets very confusing because Suzuki, you'd think it works, but no, Suzuka is actually owned by Honda. But the German Ernst Degner raced on a Suzuki, and after a bad crash on that Suzuki, he suffered some bad burns. It was okay. He was okay after it, of course, but Honda decided that they would name the curves after him as sort of a tribute, which is a very nice thing to do for Honda. The first F1 race here, Nigel Mansell, I should say, suffered a heavy crash in 1987 qualifying, which saw him out of the race, and it was Nelson Piquet that won the title because of that, because Nigel couldn't take part in the race. We are almost ready to go here for PSGL F2. They are just setting the grid, of course, and while we're on camera, would like just to take a chance to point to our fantastic sponsors, GT and Mega. Make sure you do check them out, of course, for all your sim racing stuff. Look, lads, it's coming up to Black Friday. You're going to get yourselves a good bargain if you're looking for anything, so make sure you do check that out. But we will have a look at our track map on screen once again. Timon, best overtaking opportunity. Where is it?
Turn 1, or if you're really brave, 130R. But also, of course, in the Casio Triangle, sending it there. I think those will be the 3 main overtaking spots. You have often people sending it in the hairpin, but it goes more often wrong than it goes right, which Sergio Perez showed. I believe it was still this year, where he had his crash. Also, you stole the wedding fact from me. That's one I was going to mention. And I was also going to talk about the 8-hour motor race that they hold on Suzuka, which is one of the most legendary racing events of all time, in my opinion. You just got motorbikes that do endurance racing. It's not something you see often, and it's something that I try to watch every year because it's just genuinely something that interests me. You got MotoGP, and you got all kinds of people driving on motors for 8 hours straight. So yeah, for me, that is one of the events that makes Suzuka special for me. But the lobby has certainly been made, and we're already in the loading screen getting ready for the race.
Where is Jarno, many people are asking. Maybe it's time to start asking, how is Jarno? But we might not have Jarno Otmir here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have a star-studded lineup, including the man Ron has mentioned, Will Murdoch. Ron, of course, a very speedy Estonian driver. One that F2 historians would certainly be aware of. But let's head back trackside then here in Suzuka. Timon, who wins this race?
Mate, you're giving me all the difficult ones.
I have never not asked a co-commentator who's going to win the race. I hate giving my opinion, so unfortunately, you're going to have to give yours.
I'll keep that in mind for the rest of the season, and I'll be asking it for every single other race from this point onwards. But I think for the first race, it will be Dirk.
Oh, I like that. I like an interesting prediction. But it is not Dirk, of course, who starts on pole. It is his very closely named compatriot Dirk, who has to defend a 405-metre run from pole position to the apex of the first corner, which is just called first turn, seemingly, which is quite boring. But that is the name. The longest flat-out section, of course, is from turn 14 Spoon Curve to the turn 15 famous corner of 130 odd. That's 994 metres, and the drivers will be using about 66% of the circuit at foot-to-the-floor pace. The Ferris wheel moving in the background, and the grandstands are filled and waiting for action to take place. The intensity is building, and the tension is rising. It's not been a long-awaited season opener because we had such a short transition between seasons, but certainly this could be a classic F2 season, and we are just waiting to get it started. Let us know down below who you think is going to win in the stream chat, of course, folks. Some people asking what was pole, but certainly pole is not going to matter much soon. 5 red lights. And we go racing here in Japan. Very good launch from Ian Van Unen, but he's instantly come to try cover off the Ferrari on his outside, heading in towards turn number 1. AlphaTauri and Ferrari side by side. Macho and Ian Van Unen still keeping it side by side, heading through the second corner. Ian Van Unen's managed to pull that one off. We're all safely through the first couple of corners. Newt looking to make up a space. Oh, we're not safely through the S-curves. Tales is out of the Grand Prix. This car's gone everywhere. We're under virtual safety car conditions, and there's an Alfa Romeo spun as well. That's Zane who's gone round. Not safely through the S-curves. We got safely through turn number 1 and 2. Tales is out of the Grand Prix as quick as his season started. That's a horror start from the brilliant Brazilian. And Williams are not really starting out their title defence greatly. Timon, did you get another angle at that? Did you see what happened between Tales and a few others?
I do believe that there was a spin and a few cars being diagonally on track, and I think it was just a big collision afterwards and a big pileup, but we're already green after the VSC. It's a short VSC and we're already going fully back green. Doesn't seem like anyone got a big jump off Fede, though, being a bit asleep, got Armateo right on his back. Armateo doesn't have a wing, by the way, so that might be a slight issue. He's in P10 and there goes Johan getting bunched up because Armateo had no apex speed there because he just was missing his full wing. Meanwhile, up front, we're just going to have to take a look. Ian not making any moves very early on. I think Skyline's maybe trying to line up a move. He's not going for it. Kloof is going for it up the inside into the Casio triangle side by side with Skyline. I think he even got Daniela as well before he got to the corner. Tried to get 2 in 1. Didn't really go off there. Meanwhile, Zorzo is trying to overtake Daniel again on the main straight. Daniela is having a slip. He was going to get boxed in between Kloof and Zorzo here. Zorzo up the inside in turn 1. Going to keep it there. And I do believe it's around the outside goes Daniel because he had a little bit of a moment also, and Daniel is able to keep his position up in 6th place, but that is a massive gap after at the end of covers. The gap between P9 and P10, 1.8 seconds, and the question is, can they gap that gap close down all the way, because otherwise everyone from P10 downwards has a really slim chance at winning this race. Well, meanwhile, Daniel left the session, so that's going to cost him a whole lot of positions as well.
Oh, that's unfortunate for the man who was performing very well. Look at this, look at Newt going for the move on the skyline. Where has this Newt come from? Sensational, he's going for moves left, right and centre. Now up to 4th here in this Grand Prix. He did start on that soft compound tyre, of course, and he's one of 3 to do it. We have Max van der Giestan or Matteo into the pit lane for a set of the medium tyres. Of course, 27 laps here at Suzuka, so you're usually aiming for about lap 13 or 14 for your strategy, depending what it's on. Softs maybe a little bit earlier than that, but what a start from Newt. He wanted things to change, he wants things to be different in terms of his racing career, and certainly this more aggressive approach is one that I'm thoroughly enjoying. Ian Van Unen looking for the move on TF10 Dark as we're heading round through the Casio Triangle. Your highest gainer in this race is Shizou Fede, who's up to 6th, so the soft tyre starting out once again a very good one. That is Fede with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Here comes Ian Van Unen tucked into the slipstream in the McLaren in front. He's not utilising that ERS system, so he is just looking to stay behind and keep with Dark. I commentated on Ian around Suzuka race a couple of weeks ago. He's a very crafty driver around these lefts and rights, so definitely keep an eye on him going for a move in an unusual spot. 2 Mercedes not necessarily tripping over each other the way George Russell and Lewis Hamilton were, but they're certainly in this one for the long run. Cubber's actually picking up that curb on the outside of Dunlop, and you don't want to do that too many times, because if you go a centimetre further than Covers did, you're ending up in that gravel trap, unfortunately, and you're left staring at a Ferris wheel while many cars fly past you. Look at that, look at this bit of a backup here in towards the turn 10 hairpin, or the Kobayashi curve as I heard it called once. I think that's a fitting name for the dive bombs young Kamui used to do into that corner. But I gotta say, the top 3 looking very unsettled here in this Grand Prix. They've not settled into a rhythm. There's little hiccups and little mistakes here left, right and centre, and it certainly seems like they're feeling the pressure of Newt behind the Alpine that we currently ride on board with. Look how much he is pushing through here to the outside of the Scuderia Ferrari. This is high risk territory into the Casio Triangle. Newt looking to get the run on the outside. What a move by Newt. He's up to 3rd here in PSGL F2. Skyline got to try follow him through, tucks into the slipstream of the Renault powered machine in front. Ian Van Unen leads the Japanese Grand Prix, but they're still 2 abreast in towards turn number 1 and 2. Skyline still on the outside. He'll get the inside for turn 3 if he can stay alongside for a long time, but no, he will not. He'll back off for now. This is cracking racing to open the season here at the Suzuka International Circuit.
So much trust from Knuf and Macho between each other. They were fully on the limit. The fact that Knuf was not fully on the grass and went off there was absolutely incredible. I don't know why he would go around the outside, but he made it work, and it shows the level of trust these drivers have with each other, and that they are able to race each other to the absolute limit. Knut now having to make up 2 more positions to get in that leading position, which he probably wants, but I think those soft tires will be dropping off very, very quickly, and you do have to see that the leaders still have a whole lot of ERS in their battery, so they are not pushing fully at all. Neither is Knut, to be fair. He's on 50% of ERS. And he's just managing his tyres as well. Those soft tyres, you want to make up a lot of positions early on, and then try to survive for as long as possible to go to the medium tyres at the same, pretty much the same moment as all the hard runners, because every single lap of medium tyres that you have fresher compared to your opponents, it's just 1 or 2 free tenths. Meanwhile, we have to look again at the racing, because everyone, it's just so tight towards each other, and Diogo Silva is fully driving back up towards the train, while losing it again. This is the 3rd moment he's had, 2 times in quali, 1 time in the race coming in inside the Casio triangle, or just outside of it. Noel seemingly not really controlled at all with his car, low on ERS as well, pushing and making constant mistakes. This is driving style that Noel needs to change if he really wants to get a shot at the title at a later stage. Zorzo, meanwhile, also on 9 tenths compared to Fede up ahead. Fede now struggling to make some moves because he has been stuck behind Skyline for a lap now. And I mean, a lap doesn't really sound that long, but compare hard to soft, and it really has that big difference. Gonna see if there's any move here up in the hairpin. It's Macho, because Kloof's had an absolute sinker of an exit. Macho around the outside now in the hairpin. Kloof keeping his inside there. Going around the outside, Macho, better exit on those hard tires, and he makes that move already stick, and it seems like the soft tires are already dropping off and coming towards that end, and I think then the soft runners might have miscalculated the strategy, and especially Zane down in 16, he might be in a lot of trouble, because he was planning on making up a lot of positions early on, and he seemingly is struggling, because we currently have 3 trains, Evan. We got P1 to P8, P9 to all the way down.
1 second time, and they're going side by side into 130. Your Skyline went for the mother of all overtakes here in Suzuka. He was very brave going for that one. He did back out of it at the last minute, which is probably the smarter approach. Just Newt almost loses it, and now he's on the outside, pushed onto the Glasgow Skyline. He's going to keep it stick. He's put foot to the floor, and he's risked it all here at Suzuka. His teammate going for the race lead as well. This is an action-packed start to what could be a brilliant season here in PSGL F2. Skyline still looking for the overtake on Newt. It's not going to work out there. Newt has really gone for this no-nonsense approach this season. He is not taking a single prisoner, and he was very close to pushing Skyline a little bit over the limit there. He's probably going to have to tone it down a little bit. I'm liking this new aggressive approach from Newt, but you got to just keep it and not cross over that line. But in terms of this race, lap 6 out of 27, those 6 laps have absolutely flown by. I don't know what you folks in the chat think, but this has been a great race so far. There is not much of a split strategy. It's only 3 guys who've gone for the softs, and unfortunately Zane not making them work in the same way that Newt and Fede are, but the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo are certainly bringing us a lot of action here, but those tyres are going to start falling off soon. The soft tyre is not a good tyre for long distance driving on the Formula 1 game, especially this Formula 1 game. Back in, of course, F1 2021, completely different ball game. But Ian Van Unen pulling out of the slipstream here compared to Dark. Is he going to go for this one in the Casio triangle? He's pulled to the outside, just going to sit behind for the time being, though. Certainly, McLarens know what can go wrong into the Casio triangle. It's happened a couple of times, maybe, but Dark, is he vulnerable to the AlphaTauri behind? Absolutely is, because not having that DRS fastest lap of the Grand Prix goes for the German of Kartzer, who is working his way up this field nicely, qualifying, maybe not his forte, but he's up to 9th, and it seems like Noel has finally found his form, and he gets the job done on Diogo Silva. I'm surprised Noel has struggled so much around here, because where he took his first podium last season, that was in Qatar, which is sort of a similar circuit. It's high speed, flicks to the left and right. Obviously there's nothing close to the elevation change that you get here at Suzuka, but it seems like Noel may be suffering with a little bit of nerves. Noel is one, if not the youngest driver on this field, and he's still shown us time and time again the potential that he does have. He just needs to try utilise it a little bit more. But he's in the points, up to 10, picking up a solitary point for his efforts for now. So a good job all around from Noel. But lap 7 out of 27, Timon, when are we looking for pit stops, really?
That's an absolutely incredible question, which I am not too sure I know the perfect answer to. Strategy-wise, I'm a bit of a mess, but I would presume around like lap 13, 14, but I think these drivers with the engineers will know that a lot better than we do, Evan. And the only thing we can do currently is enjoy this racing that they are giving us, and with the action that is brought to us, we get happiness, and then it is the racing. Dog makes a mistake. Macho going around there to crash. Oh my days! Macho forced into the pit lane, already going in. It was a big moment there. Hey, Spruce is there, side by side, going still. Knuf and Skyline going ahead of Knuf. Finally, he's been stuck behind him for 3 laps. But that was the chaos that we were expecting and waiting for. Dark, I think he made a little bit of a moment in the Casio section. He could have been pushed by Macho also. I didn't fully see it, but Macho and Dark collided with each other and forced Macho into the pit lane. He's now come out of the pit lane. No wing change, but seemingly a very early pit stop from Macho, causing him to go fully on an alternative strategy, and he's now going to have to carry those medium tires for a very long time. Of course, he will have the undercut on everyone else and get a pretty nice lead, I think, whenever the other drivers fit, but this was definitely not planned. And Ian, 2.1 seconds of a gap, he is absolutely loving life, and he will be just draining that battery a little bit now, driving away from the rest and just trying to control this race. And for this TF10 driver, Ian, he is going to be absolutely loving life.
Macho's no longer going to be a prancing horse. He's now a raging bull after that one, because that was a freak accident which forced him into the pit lane, and Dark kind of got off unscathed. He lost a lot of time, of course, now down to 7th in this Grand Prix, but he did get off relatively unscathed. Here comes Dirk looking for the move on Nils Villenport, heading in towards 130 or the Alpine, and the Aston Martin are not going to go side by side through there. That's not something they plan on partaking in today, and the Aston Martin is just going to sit behind for the time being. But looking up towards the front, we've got a train from 2nd, I don't know, down to 12th, I suppose you could say, but Ian Van Unen has got away at the front. That is a direct incident, or that is directly involved with that incident between Dark and Macho, because everyone was backed up for a brief moment. The two cars who were behind Ian got sent spinning pretty much. I'm not too sure why Macho went for that move in the first place. I think he was asking for trouble. But look, I'm not discouraging overtaking, and I never will in the month of Sunday. So fair play to Macho for going for it, and he's into the pit lane once again. I'm not sure if this is going to be a manual retirement or if this is going to be an alternate strategy change. We've not seen the safety car or Bernd Maylander make an appearance here yet this evening, so that could always happen. Although I've got to say, other than a few little hiccups here and there, racing has been relatively clean. We've have only one DNF, that is Tales, who we unfortunately lost heading through turn 4 for the first time. But as they head through Spoon Curve now, on lap 9 out of 27, we'd like to take a chance to remind you to subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel. And make sure you do check out all our social channels. We've got a Twitter, we've got an active Instagram now as well, and feel free to join our Discord server if you want to chat with any of the drivers, any of the team. Me and Simon, I'm sure, are more than welcome to answer a few questions if you have any, so make sure you do check out that. But back to the on-track action. Skyline, a little bit out of shape, heading through the final corner. This is it's looking like Newth is just like a shark hunting down his prey, and he's got the job done, well done, before turn number 1. And Newth has got to lap number 10. I reckon next couple of laps he's going to be into the pit lane and change for the mediums.
One more. I do believe he's going to do like 16 laps on mediums from looking at the chat, which would presume that he would want to do 11 laps at least on those softs. But those softs must not be feeling all that nicely. But he was able to overtake easily because Skyline, he doesn't have any ERS at all. He burned it all whilst being behind Knut on an earlier stage, and he was just unable to use any of that battery on this point, which means that Ian was able to run away even easier because he's now put a gap towards 3 seconds. Macho putting on the hard tyre, at least not retiring, which is something I do really appreciate. You never know what's going to happen, safety cars, etc. And you know how desperate people will be for points if we have a late safety car. So you never know what will happen in that area. But besides that, Ian, I think he has just sealed this race unless he does anything stupid. And we as commentators, we got something beautiful called a commentator's curse. Will it happen to Ian? Probably. Will I still say he's going to win? Yes, because that's the way it's currently looking like. But let's see if Fede can actually force his way past Skyline as well, because I think that's the move that's going to happen maybe soon, because Skyline, he doesn't have any ERS at all. He does have the DRS to help him out, and Fede goes into the pit lane. Throw that out of the window.
Ian looking very comfortable in this race, but as the great Murray Walker once said, anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. And I like to put my own twist on it, and if anything can happen in Formula 1, well, it probably will happen in league racing, as Dark runs wide. Dark, seems to be struggling with something, heading through turn number 1 and 2, whether it's a bit of damage on the car, or whether it was just a lapse in concentration. He ran wide for the first couple of corners, and now he has fallen back. But I gotta say, his ERS management is absolutely impeccable, because he's got a chunk load of battery well within the 70s, and those in front of him are very much not at that same level. Noel especially, you can see the red light flashing behind. That means he is regenerating energy, and the red light does mean you've less than 10%. Here comes Dark as you got to look for it up the inside in towards turn number 10. Late on the brakes, last of the late breakers for the McLaren, looking for this one on the AlphaTauri. Now has to try focus on the traction out of the corner, but Noel has got that a lot better than Dark has, and that's sort of a missed opportunity, it seems, in the McLaren, who looked like he had a bit of overspeed on the AlphaTauri. He'll have to wait for the Casio triangle at his next earliest opportunity. Covers There's many people saying it was going to be a covers cooking session, I think I read at one point in the chat. He's up to 4th now, and looking like this could be a podium shout maybe for the Mercedes. He's right on the back of Skyline, and Skyline is getting that slipstream off the Alpine in front. I imagine Newt is going to be pulling into the pit lane this time round, and that slipstream benefits and DRS will no longer be available to the McLaren. There goes Newt, peels off into the pit lane. Now this is Covers' his time to pounce because the red light is flashing on Skyline, and Covers tucks into the slipstream. Now side by side as they go under the Lenovo sponsorship. They exited in towards the Lenovo sponsor. Turn number 1! Oh, it's all gone wrong! Covers goes round. It was looking like that was going to be an easy move. He snatched the brake, goes round, whether it was a little rear lockup or potentially a little bit of a tap on the front wing of Skyline. It's all gone wrong for Covers. He spun round and down to 10th place in this Grand Prix. That's disastrous for the Mercedes, who is having a strong showing.
I just looked it back on stream. Skyline giving him a little bit of a nudge, and he just fully sent Covers round, and that is a massive shame. And I think it will be a slam dunk penalty for Skyline. But this fully changes the race up again, because now we got Zolzo, kart racer. These are debutants in F2, being in 3rd and 4th. With the expected penalty from Skyline, realistically they are currently in 2nd and 3rd, which is absolutely incredible to take off, and I don't think it's a place that they would have expected to find themselves in this race, but that's where they are. Kart racing, he had to close a 2-second gap towards the leading train, which he did, burning all of his ERS. I do believe he still has the fastest lap whilst doing so. These are old drivers proving themselves for the first season in PSGL, proving that this is the place where they should be and that they are here to stay for a while, and they're certainly doing so if they can finish in these high positions. But you never know what will happen, because even Will Murdoch, who was 1.5 seconds off the pace in qualifying, is now up in 8th place. Meanwhile, Skyline going into the pit lane on very low ERS. He found that he had to make that pit stop early, going for an undercut and trying to now gap the whole field. But let's see where he ends up compared to Knut and Fede, because these two drivers have just been working together on those medium tires, not really fighting and having zero traffic in front of them. I think they're going to be making a big jump to Skyline. Well, Skyline is in the pit lane. There goes Knut and Fede already. It's going to be an absolutely massive gap. I think like 3 seconds, maybe even 4, 5. This undercut, it's been incredible from those soft starters, and now Skyline, he's going to be on the oldest medium tires compared to all the hard runners. So I think that these soft starters are in a very good strategy currently, and if they work together they can get very, very far, and they might even end up in the place where Ian is currently driving, which is 5 seconds ahead of the rest of the train.
Skyline had a front wing change, I believe, as well. I think that's why he was also slightly delayed in the pit lane, but I'm not too sure. I cannot 100% confirm that. Will Murdoch is looking like he's trying to get a move done on Diogo Silva. Will is one of the more entertaining overtakers in PSGL. He's a man who we've certainly got a lot of joy watching cut through fields time and time again here in the F2 Championship. And I think he's been in F1 a few times as well. Unfortunately, I was not there when he was, but he certainly has been there many a time. And Noel is looking to try and get past Dark. The whole direction of this race has completely changed. Kartzer into the pit lane, as do many follow him. Noel almost hitting the pit wall. Kartzer's teammate Danielle stays out, of course. Unfortunately suffered that disconnect in the early stages of the race that lost him a few positions. Ian Van Unen, 5.1 second lead, which is huge in a PSGL race, especially, or in any league race really. As you can see, Dirk gets past Nils. That's for 5th spot. Dirk getting past him. Newt is the top medium tyre runner, but he does have Fede literally staring at his gearbox. Fede has that Alpine sponsored rear wing right in his field of view as of now, and will have potentially until the end of this race. But these two need to work together to undercut Ian Van Unen. It is the medium charge versus the long lasting hard compounded tyre. And certainly this could be a thrilling conclusion to the end of this season opener. We're over halfway through it now, and it's been action-packed from start to finish. Make sure you pop a subscription in the YouTube channel if you have enjoyed it. We've seen stunning numbers on the stream so far, folks. So once again, very much appreciative of your support. And yeah, if you want more PSGL action after we've finished here in Suzuka, PSGL F1 coming up at 8 PM GMT. That's 9 PM European time. And God knows what it is in America. But Let's see, does Ian pile into the pit lane for a set of mediums? He does. So now we're going to get the straight chase. It's going to be Newt and Fede pushing on a set of medium tyres to try and lead this Grand Prix. Ian Van Unen currently in getting his AlphaTauri serviced. He's drove a flawless race so far, has Ian Van Unen. But this comes down to the power of the underhood, a tactic so often utilised in single-seater racing. Here comes Newt. Where is Ian Van Unen? Is he heading out of the pit lane? Here is Ian Van Unen. Here's Newt. If we look back, there's the AlphaTauri exiting the pit lane. Newt is in the provisional race lead of this Grand Prix. Fede is in 5th place now, but provisionally 2nd, and then it's Ian Van Unen. But quite crucially, Ian has much fresher tyres and will look to try overtake the pair to get into the lead of this race. But it's one thing to catch a driver, it's a completely other thing to pass them, and that is going to be what the challenge Ian will face in probably the next 2 or 3 laps.
I find it surprising that Ian, with the gap that he had, that he went so early on those tyres. If you know how big of a tyre game this game really is, I would have stayed out if I was Ian's engineer. I would have told him to stay out one more lap, really have the tyre advantage over everyone else, and then really just be able to control the race from there. Not have anything to worry about, because now he has a lot of equal tyre wear compared to drivers that are behind him. So if he now get a safety car or something else, it's going to be interesting. But even with a safety car on this game, everyone's probably going to be pitting. Ian, though, he needs to overtake 3 guys up ahead who are still on hards, and most likely going to disappear. Meanwhile, Niels is trying to go for a move here up in the Casio Triangle, but he decided to hold back and wait a little bit. Dirk in the lead currently, predicted race winner, but he had a big moment earlier on. But all 3 stay out, all hard runners. I think they're going to wait for a safety car, Evan. And now Niels going into the lead here. I think Knut, Fede and Ian are going to have a very tough time having to overtake these guys. Knut up the inside already, though, compared to Johan. And he's just showing me wrong already. Those 4-lap-old mediums being so much better than the 15-lap-old hards that the other drivers are having. And now it's going to be up towards the hairpin, probably, where Knut is going to be able to make his next attack, unless he's really able to surprise us. Exit of 200R. Oh my days, you're not going to do it here, are you, Knut? You're not going to do it here, are you? You are going to do it here. What an incredible move by NLR Knut. He makes it. He does it so nicely. And now you got both Alpines in the lead. And this Niels going to be playing a team game. You need to think about constructors already. Is it already so early on in the season? Time to think about that. Fede, meanwhile, massive send in the hairpin on Johan, getting past him as well. Ian wanting to profit on him as well in his slipstream of Fede, also able to get past Johan. So Johan already lost all 3 positions. Drew Primo going in the lead, a little bit of team orders, I think. Not the
it was. Niels pulled that to the side. Niels pulled to the side and let him through. This is dramatic here in PSGL. This no-nonsense youth is an absolute sensation to watch. It's an Alpine 1-2, but we have everybody on different tyres pretty much at this stage. Here comes Fede looking for this one on Dirk. This has to be pretty much done. As look, big send from Dirk as well on the Alpine. That forces Fede to the outside. Fede gets the job done on Nils. They all stay out, so Ian has to dispatch the Aston Martin as well, heading down the main straight. Lap 17 to 27. Ian Van Unen's gone look for them both potentially in towards the first corner, and Fede is going to take 3rd. Then it's Ian, then it is Dirk. Zorzo actually sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix for Mercedes. Of course, these 3 drivers, Newt, Fede and Ian, are not going to set the fastest lap, because it's almost like a World Endurance Championship race here, where they're just ducking and diving in and out of slower cars. And look at this. This is Nils working as a teammate. Nils is now going to force Ian Van Unen to try take the move on Fede in towards Degner 1. Through Dunlop curve, he gets it done. In towards Degner 1, the move's complete. And oh, Fede goes round. He's hit the back of the AlphaTauri. Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri come to blows. Fede's chances of winning the Japanese Grand Prix go to smithereens. But we have to go back up the front, because Ian Van Unen has dispatched Nils. Nils now has got to do everything. He's trying to be the ultimate teammate here in round 1. He's putting his car into places that it probably shouldn't be, but unfortunately he could only hold off the speedy Dutchman for so long, and now it's a straight fight between Enelor Newt and Ian Van Unen. 1.2 seconds the gap. We've got 10-ish laps to go. It's 9 or 10 laps to go. Wow, what a race we have so far. It is the German of Newt, the man who is looking to try and get an F2 win once again. He's looking to try and light that spark. Ian is looking to just try win a race, really. Ian is looking to come onto the scene with a blast. And Ian Van Unen is definitely a star man here in this F123 game. Skyline gets the job done on Johan, but unfortunately he's suffering a little bit with his ERS, but Skyline could easily take a podium here. And if something goes wrong up front, maybe even still the race win.
I doubt that Skyline can take a podium because you've got those drivers behind them on mediums on 1 or 2 fresher lap tyres. Amateo's probably going to DNF currently in the pit lane because he speeds into the pit lane, or he's going to go for a set of softs actually. But Ian, he gained 7 tenths already on that last lap because Knut is flashing, and the tyre difference between 3 laps is absolutely massive on this game. Ian is not going to send it in the heaven, I do believe, because he also knows how valuable second place is currently. A little bit of a mistake there from Knut on the exit, certainly not helping him, and he is just so close behind Knut, certainly going to be able to overtake him either in Casio triangle or already going to do it before 130R coming through Spoonie. It's just so controlled, so much more grip. You can see it in the car that Ian is driving, and it should be all under control. Here we go then. He's putting in the right hand side, not really going in the slipstream. Doesn't mean that he's not going to be overtaking before 130R. It's probably going to be in the Casio triangle. Here we go. Is he going to do anything? Going to send it here? Just going to wait for the main straight actually. He's just going to be making it easy for himself. I do expect Ian to overtake here. His exit seemingly good. It's a lot better than good, and he needs to make it done now. DRS, easy move on the straight. Ian Van Unen in the lead, and he's now going to be absolutely driving and flying away. And Knut, he needs to hold on to the back end of Ian's car for as long as possible. But just look at that gap difference already after 1 corner. It's already 5 tenths. The grip levels is absolutely incredible. And it's going to be the same, I think, for Skyline, because he now already has Noel very close behind him, who's gone past Johan, who is still on 18 lap old hards. Same goes for Dirk. The engineers from TF10 are saying, I don't know who Dirk is engineers, but the strategy that he is on is certainly interesting. That's what I'm hearing from this Twitch chat, YouTube chat. Sorry, don't ban us. Coming up towards the hairpin now, Noel seemingly having to wait behind, getting stuck behind Dirk.
Sorry to jump in there, Timon, but Carter has just sent one on the inside of Yo, and he's not messing about. The Germans are going for this one here this evening. It seems, look at this, Will Murdoch going for the outside here, heading through the flat right-hander and then in towards Spoon Curve. He's put his Ferrari in a real awkward position here. He's actually just fighting a car on better tyres than him, shoves him to the outside. No messing about from the Olympian, and he's got the job done. Diogo Silva looking for this one as well. Are they going to be side by side here into 130R? No, not quite. Dirk now still holding everybody up here in the backpack. I've no idea what strategy he's going for, but certainly it is bringing us some entertainment. He's providing the goods here. Still stays out. Dirk is still staying out, and I think he's just going to wait for a safety car here. Johan pulls into the pit lane. He cannot last any longer. Will Murdoch now side by side with Kartzer heading down towards turn number 1. Who's going to break the latest of the two? Both Ferrari power. The factory Ferrari, of course, and the customer team, Haas Formula 1. Kartzer has gone around the outside, and I think Will might have found his crazy match. Maybe here in PSGL F2. By the way, up the front, Ian Van Unen could probably stop for a sandwich and a cup of tea on his way to winning this race. He's now pulled 2.4 seconds over NLR Newt. This is not a bad result for Newt. Don't get this one wrong at all. This is not a bad result for the Alpine, but this is a sensational result for Ian Van Unen. And Dirk still holding up cars. Is Noel going to go for this one? No. Noel has driven a great race considering the hiccups he has picked up over the course of this one. Oh, I say that's another wobble on the exit of the hairpin, called hairpin, in towards Spoon Curve. Surely Noel is going to have to go for something bold here. Although one thing that's surprising me is Dirk he doesn't have the worst pace in the world here. He's still taking the corners relatively okay compared to, say, others were on a similar, I can't think of the word now, but the hard tyre with the similar distance driven on them. No, wasn't able to go for it into 130. It's going to be last the late breakers into Casio Triangle. No, wasn't willing to risk that. Will Murdoch now is defending from dark, heading in towards that same corner, the Casio Triangle, which is, it's not really a triangle, but certainly it is a historic Formula 1 corner nonetheless. Surely Noel has to go for this now. Noel goes up the inside, heading in towards turn number 1. Look at this, Kartzer going for it as well, and Kartzer push to pass in towards turn number 1 and 2. Push to pass. Your Excellency, because what a move that was from the German to get the job done on Dirk. He was not hanging about for a lap behind Dirk. No way was he doing that. That was just, look, get out of my way, mate. You're out way too long on those hard tyres. Just do what I'm going through. What a great move from Carter. Now, 21 out of 27. The podium still up in arms a little bit here. That's Will Murdoch. That's Will Murdoch who's gone round on the entrance to Degner 2. Disappointing for the Brit.
I think after some contact, maybe I think Dark lost the position to Daniel, so maybe there was a little bit of contact between those drivers, but I'm really unsure at what happened there. Meanwhile, Dirk, his tires are now really starting to slow down a whole lot, and now we have to look at this battle for P3 because Skyline versus Zorzo versus Noel versus Star Race. I think these four drivers are going to be absolutely fighting, and they all would love a podium spot in that debut, in some of their debut seasons. At least it is for Zorzo and Noel. No one of them has any ERS. Like, at this point, I'm just looking at the steering wheels quickly to see if anyone's got any ERS to overtake. And literally, the first person to have a little bit of ERS is Niels in P15. No one's got ERS, so we're pretty much back down to the old-fashioned DRS only overtaking and just absolutely having to send it. Going there, who's sending it? It is Dark up the inside of Daniel, going side by side into turn 1. Daniel going a little bit of track, getting a warning there, and a little bit of a push at the back end of Dark. But he does still make that move. It happened, Dark. Great overtake by him. Overtaking Dirk meanwhile as well. So it's 2 positions gained from Dark on 1 straight necessarily. It's again a really, really nice move. Going for it there. Covers around the outside there. Doesn't work. Diogo Silva shoving it off a little bit off the track. But I think Diogo Silva didn't even know that he was there. Covers really struggling in this race on 8-lap old mediums. Unable to really storm his way up towards the field. Meanwhile, both Alfa Romeos driving a little bit of a race. We haven't seen them at all. We've seen Fede up there, but after his spin, he's been shocking as well. And Zane, someone to start on the softs. Both their strategies seemingly going down the drain. Shame for those guys. And I think these Alfa Romeos, constructor-wise, if you need a team that's going to be out there every single race, but probably going to bottle, Alfa Romeo.
Wow, that was a bit of a call out, wasn't it, time? But here comes Zorzo. Look at this one, going for the podium is Zorzo, trying it on Sky. Ooh, you know what? I think that could be a DRS game or two played by Skyline there, because he's broke way early for the Casio triangle. Let's see, is that worked out? Is he going to get the DRS exiting there? Yep, there goes the wing open, and Skyline is going to look to bomb past Zorzo, heading towards turn number 1, or has he left it too late? No, that's a disaster for Skyline. That's not worked at all, and now Shazoo Noel is looking for this one. Skyline broke early to take the DRS so he could get past in towards turn number 1, and now unfortunately he's going to have to drive the rest of this race with his tail between his legs, because he's subsequently just handed the podium placing to Zorzo, or has he? Zorzo, big mistake heading into Dunlop now. Skyline going to look for this one, potentially heading in towards the Degner curves. Is the McLaren close enough to go with this one on the Mercedes? He's just sat behind. Maybe a dive in towards turn number 10. We'll have to wait and see, but he's not got a great run through there, and it seems like the Mercedes has picked up the pieces. He was slightly out of line here or there through the S curves, but he's picked up the pieces, and now Zorzo can drive home to a podium. Potentially, but he still has Noel, Kartzer and Danielle behind. That's Will Murdoch, who's gone round again, just underneath the bridge, heading through Degner 2, same place where we saw him go around the first time. So disappointing for Will.
Really not the race that Will was looking for, but qualifying 1.5 seconds off the pace really isn't that exciting. So he drove a good race and then he spun twice. It's what you would expect from someone who qualifies 1.5 seconds off the pace. But let's put might be a contender for later on. Meanwhile, Dark, incredible move on Danielle. So I think someone went off a little bit ahead of them, or at least went wide. Not too sure about that. Probably just seeing things again. But Skyline lets Zorzo through to save some ERS, so he was able to overtake him probably on the last lap. Will Murdoch DNFing in the pit lane, or did he crash in the pit wall?
No, pit lane.
Yeah,
he's too far in.
ERS, he's going to be saving ERS to get past Zorzo on a later stage, because Skyline's not had any ERS this race, but he does have Noel behind him, who I think doesn't even know how to control his own car himself. So it's going to be interesting to see what Noel does in this race, because he's nearly put this car into a wall, I think 6 times already this race, and he's currently in P5. So he's clearly doing something right. But Oh, but
Don't get on
the
Timon's
snaps
bad
are
books.
easy,
Holy moly, that's about 4 drivers he's just calling them. But yeah, no, I do partially agree with you. Noel has been struggling, but I think he's picked up the pieces quite well here. He's running 5th in this race with a chance at the podium after all. You have to do something right to get to that level in a high attrition race such as this. We've saw one VSC no safety car, of course, so this race has all been conducted under green flag running, bar that a sector on the opening lap. Here comes Skyline. He's going to pass Zorzo here, heading in towards turn 1, or is he? He's not burning ERS, so he's going to sit behind. That's way too far back for a lunge into a high-speed right-hander like turn 1. Danielle gets the job done on Dark. Great move from the Italian up to 7th, and just following his teammate Kartzer round. Of course, that is the only team on the grid with 2 active world champions. Johan unfortunately retiring from the race. Poor Johan. I don't think we've actually mentioned him for the last 20 or so laps. He's been out of this one for the majority of the Grand Prix from that spin on the opening lap. So very unfortunate. We now have a 3rd retirement on this lap. That's 3 cars we've lost. We've lost both Ferraris, and both Red Bulls pretty much out of this one as well. So not a good race from the Scuderia or from the Austrian outfit.
I perceive a big agenda against retiring with 3 laps to go. I mean, you put in practice for multiple hours. Why don't you do 3 more laps? Because
yeah,
who knows what can happen. But the safety car is not able to get out, so these drivers at least continued up until that moment. Meanwhile, you have to look at what's going to happen. I think it's all going to be building up towards that final lap, and we got such a massive train behind Zorzo. We got Zorzo, Skyline, Noel, Kart Racer, Daniel, Dark, Covers, Diogo Silva, all in one train. And on the next 2 laps, I think we're going to see a lot of overtaking attempts and maybe a few incidents or 2. But that's only to figure out once it happens. Skyline, is he going to go for a move on this lap already, or is he going to wait for the final lap, knowing that he does have the pressure behind him? Noel is burning on this lap. He wants to do it now, unable to really make that move happen. And is Skyline going to go for it? Skyline needs to go for it into turn 1. Still waiting behind. Smartly done. Faking an overtake up the inside and then still slotting in behind, saving a little bit of ERS to go for it on that final lap. But Zorzo, he has got so much ERS. I don't think Skyline's going to be able to make that move stick in the first place. But that's all to figure out on that final lap. Kart Racing you off. He's got a little bit of battery as well. So everything, Evan, is going to be coming down towards that final lap.
Yeah, it's all going to be sorted on the final lap of proceedings here in Suzuka. Let us know if you have a driver of the day choice, of course, in the stream chat below. We might have a bit of a discussion about that after the race, but we'll have to wait and see. We still got a very important final lap here to go. Of course, the championship's not won in the opening round of the season, but certainly there is crucial points that can be taken. It is Zorzo who leads from Skyline, Noel, Kartzer, Danielle, and Dark, and Covers, and Diogo Silva in this train, but it is Ian Van Unen who still leads this Grand Prix. But here we go, down towards 130 or no one's going to go for a move here, I would feel, because they all want that DRS in the final lap. They don't want to be falling away from the cars in front. So Zorzo is going to be potentially swallowed up down the main straight, but we'll wait and see. He's defended very valiantly so far, so let's see what happens this time. Final lap of the Japanese Grand Prix. The battle for the podium rages on, and Skyline is going to have one final attempt. The 2 Hasses are going to go battling as well here, heading down towards turn number 1. Skyline goes for the inside line, and the Mercedes and the McLaren dives late on the brakes. That's perfectly executed from Skyline. He's up onto the podium here in PSGL F2. That's a brilliant move from Skyline. There was no hiccups, no kerfuffles, heading in towards the first corner, and the McLaren is up and might taste some podium champagne if he can drive the rest of this lap. As perfectly as he made that overtake. The 2 Hasses didn't swap round in the end. It's still Kartzer, the F4 champion, leaving over Danielle, the F3 champion, and then Shizu Noel, still in 5th, wasn't able to capitalise. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix goes to Dirk. There's no point for that, I'm afraid. That's because he's in 14th position, unfortunately. But they're heading in towards turn 10 for the final time. Can anyone maybe lunge one up the inside? This is still certainly a battle that is raging on, though, because Zorzo is looking for this one on Skyline, but Skyline's got a brilliant exit out of that turn 10 hairpin. He's got away well, heading in towards Spoon Curve for the final time. And I think it seems like Zorzo's last overtaking opportunity will be into the Casio Triangle. But we'll come back to that in a moment, or we'll stick with it for now. We'll jump to Ian as he gets closer to the finish line, because here comes Zorzo going for P3. Zorzo's onto the podium, heading into 130 euro. Ian Van Noonen rounds the final corner. Super Ian Van Noonen storms to success in Suzuka. What a season opener from the Dutchman. An excellent drive, and he takes the win ahead of Newt, who returns to the podium for the first time since the Lusail International Circuit last season. Well done, Newt, because that was a very different Newt, but still can produce fantastic results. We saw the move from Zorzo. We didn't jump away from it in the end, and he picks up P3. Skyline will be sick because he almost had that one in the bag, but it is Ian who wins ahead of Newt and Zorzo.
It was an absolutely incredible final lap with the things that we were expecting, but done in a different way. Skyline being able to get past Zorzo earlier on, doing that very nicely, but then Zorzo with that ERS level being able to storm back. But let's just give credit again to Ian. Of course he got lucky getting that 1 second to begin with, or 2.1 seconds, but at the end he drove it all the way to 5.6 seconds, or if you want to look to it compared to the train that he was in before, you need to add another 2.1 seconds to that. So he pretty much drove away 8 seconds from what were 2 seconds. It shows the pace that Ian had, and also Knuf just driving an absolutely incredible race on 3-lap all the tires compared to everyone else on that train behind him, and also compared to the guy in front of him, just driving to his limit and doing it so nicely. Knuf, like we've been saying, a bit more aggressive this season, and I cannot complain about it. I personally love to see it. And it's the move that Knut needed to make, and he's that guy that makes a different strategic choice, and most of the time it does work out. Ian, meanwhile, on the podium, doing a little bit of a dance and a celebration. I know in the last game we had some crazy dances, but Ian's fortunately not doing any of those. But he lifts the trophy for the first race of the season around Japan. Ian, the race was incredible, Evan. Did he do anything wrong this race, Ian?
No, it was flawless. Absolutely perfect. I cannot critique anything about it. And we are going to get a post-race interview, not from Ian, unfortunately. We'll get it from the other two podium placers. But no, back to Ian. Yeah, flawless. Driver of the day for me, for sure. He didn't take pole, of course. Started on the front row, but there was a lot of hiccups in the background. I've said hiccups way too much this stream, by the way. But there was a lot of moments for Dark in that race that sent him down the order to 9th. So Ian Van Noonen takes the win ahead of Newt in 2nd. Zorzo then in 3rd, followed by Skyline in 4th, Noel in 5th. Then it was Carter in 6th, Danielle in 7th, followed by Covers, Dark, and Diogo Silva actually picking up a point from 17th. That's a bit of an underrated drive. So fair play to Diogo for that one, because yeah, he did very well. He survived the chaos. Fast lap of the race went to Dirk. Your non-finishers, of course, were Johan, Max van der Geest, Macho, Will Murdoch, and Thales. Will and Johan not on friendly terms in the Discord is one way I will put it. But make sure you stick around, folks, because I think we're going to hopefully conduct our interviews almost straight away. Zorzo is waiting in the interview channel, so we're going to bring him in now. Hello, Zorzo, can you hear us? Hello?
We heard some audio from Zorzo. I'm unsure if you can hear us, but we can hear him somewhat.
Can we? Oh, there we go. Yep, can hear you now, Zorzo. Yep, that's perfect.
I can.
Firstly, congratulations on an F2 podium. Of course, you are the only man. You are one of few, I should say, who came up from F3, and you've scored a podium in your first race. You took it on the last lap with a great move. How did that race go from your perspective?
Yeah, well, thank you first of all. Quali wasn't ideal. I lost like 2 tenths, but yeah, I was enough to be P6. Then I had a bit of luck with some people crashing, but strategy was good. I let them undercut me, but I then had fresher tires. And in the final lap, I knew Skyline had was going to get a penalty because he spun covers. So I didn't do anything crazy, and I just let him pass. But then I had much more battery, so I passed him on the last straight.
Well, it's a great start to the season, of course, for you. Maybe still a little bit too early to talk about the championship, but is that your goal for the season? Are you going to try win it all?
of course. I think I have the pace for it. Maybe this race wasn't ideal in terms of pace, but I'll make sure to come back faster.
Timon, any questions for Zorzo?
I mean, I was mainly going to ask you about your strategy on the final laps, but you pretty much said it. I mean, anticipating that Skyline was going to get a penalty, but getting him out of the way with more ERS. But let's look at championship because you talked about drivers' championships. You also got a constructors one, and you got your teammate is one of the drivers that is tipped to become one of the champions here. People are saying they should be placed in F1. Obviously, talking about OP covers here, are you going to be looking at Constructor Championship at all this season? Is it not a priority for you? Is your car just a collar and you're just going to drive with it? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, for sure. If we can win both things, would be better. But yeah, Covers is an incredibly fast driver. I think he has F1 pace for sure. Sadly, he got spun, but yeah, good teamwork before that, and we will hope to win it both.
Well, Zorzo, congratulations. We're going to let you go enjoy your evening now. That was a really, really good race from you here in the opener, and we look forward to seeing you more throughout the season. So congratulations. We're going to move on to our second place finisher now. We're not going to hear from Ian, unfortunately. But now, of course, we have the man who came second in this hunt from 7th on the grid. It is Newt. Now, Newt, you seemed a little bit different today. There was a lot more aggressiveness, and it's worked out for the better. It's your first podium since Qatar from last season. Surely you've got to be happy with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really happy how this worked out in the end. I was already pretty happy with how qualifying went. Obviously, P7 isn't the best position in the world, but it was pretty decent, and I was happy that I was even able to set a pretty decent lap on a track that is pretty difficult, and obviously a lot of people practice for this since it's the first race of the season. So I was really happy with that, and yeah, originally I planned to do the normal hard-medium strat like everyone else, but with the restart I thought that I might want to try it because I saw other guys doing it, and I talked with Marlon from F1, and he convinced me to try the softs, and it was a bit difficult because I didn't know the softs, obviously. I didn't try them in practice, but it worked out really well. And yeah, like you said, I really wanted to not get bullied on track, basically. So I tried to go for moves, try to defend a position that I thought I could hold. Went a bit too far on one occasion. Gotta rewatch that and see how much of a mistake that was. But yeah, overall, I'm just really happy, especially with my pace on the mediums at the end.
You said before the race, of course, that you didn't want to set any goals. You just wanted to see how you go and how it ends. You ended up being pretty damn quick. Is there maybe Youth Championship shouts again here in F2?
Well, I don't want to go that far, to be honest, because I went that far last season and it didn't go well at all. So yeah, I definitely want to improve on last season's performance. If it's gonna be a title challenge, I don't know. But I think if I can maintain the pace that I showed today, then I think I can do pretty well this season.
Time. Any questions from yourself?
I mean, knowing that Japan's one of your better tracks because you stole that one wet Dinosaur World record from me a few years ago. I mean, Japan's a track that you tend to be quick at. Are there any other tracks this season that you're like, I think I got a pretty good shot at this track to do very nicely?
I don't want to promise too much, but in this calendar there are 4 of my 5 best tracks. So I'm pretty confident that I can improve massively on last season, especially. Qatar, obviously, one of my favorite tracks in this game. And yeah, we're just gonna see how the rest goes. Obviously, some new tracks with Las Vegas, who I'm not a pretty big fan of, to be honest. But overall, it's one of the better calendars for me, so I'm pretty confident, not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, I really hope to see you up there again, because we know that you're someone that's very consistent and showing that pace this race. I think for me, at least in my eyes, and probably also in Evan's eyes, put you on the radar for many people to see you as a title contender. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, or for you it's probably morning, knowing your sleep rhythm. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, mate, and thanks for commentating as always.
Thank you very much, Newt. Of course, it's going to be a good omen for Newt next week, folks, because we head to the Lusail International Circuit, where he scored his last podium, and certainly where we had an absolute corker of a race last season. So thank you very much for tuning in to PSGL F2 for this evening. Myself and Timon, it's been a pleasure to have you along with us. Make sure you go check out PSGL F1. You'll be automatically linked there. You don't have to worry about standing up from your seat. But thank you very much for joining us for the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. What a season we are on for. You do not want to miss it. November 6th, you must be there. So thank you very much. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and we'll leave you with a word from our title sponsors, GT Omega. Goodbye.
Desperately trying to hang on. He's got the inside. Orpheus is through on the left-hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Orpheus now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the ghost is back. Jarno Orpheus wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.
Cocaine to my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, got rose